The sort of premise is it opens with the archive footage, and you cut to a young boy who, is alone with his mum, and you see he's going to school. It's the last day of school. It's a non-uniform day, and he's wearing a pretty, you see from his clothes and his jumper that he's not like the most fashionable, and he gets picked on in the playground. He has this terrible day at school in which, he gets bullied, he has a fight, and he's a loner. He's a loner. He doesn't really want to be there. On the way home from school, in this really bad day, he meets just a gang of skinheads are in an underpass, and he meets them. And, they're funny, they're witty.
Oh, bloody hell's up with you, face ache? Oh, come and sit down for a bit.
And he has a bit of a laugh with them. And you can tell that he's kind of, from his body language, that he really thinks that these are great. But there's there's a little bit of an altercation between him and one of them. And he goes home, goes back to his mum. And then, surely enough, the skinhead, one of the main skinhead feels bad about it. They take him out for the day hunting. This great hunting scene. Halfway through the story, the character Combo comes back. He's been in prison, and he used to lead this skinhead gang. And Woody does now. He's come back. You can tell that he's highly regarded there. But in prison, he's formed some opinions in prison that are not great. And as soon as he comes back, you get a sense of menace, really, and that he's become racist. And it affects the gang. There's Milky in the gang, who's a black skinhead. He takes character Sean, under his wing a little bit, and Sean sees his dad's not around, so he's looking for a father figure. And what he saw firstly with Woody, he sees that in Combo.
It's like looking in the mirror. 20 years ago, when I was fucking 12, taking swings at big men.
I don't know, I just don't like people speaking about my dad, even in a nice way. I don't even like people speaking about the war.
Loved him, didn't you?
Yeah.
And then slowly, surely, the menace of the racism goes from sort of jokey stuff to a National Front meeting, and then to sort of an event at the end with the beating of Milky, which is really horrific. And ultimately, that's where I think the whole idea was that in 6 weeks, this young boy goes from being a boy to a man. One of the things on this which was good is that we had the costumes and the haircuts. We didn't just wait the day before shooting and did them. We actually did them a bit in advance, so that A, the girl's hair would look more real, it had grown out a little bit. B, that, get them right so that they feel, it's not a case of just having the costume look right, it's that they walk right in it and feel right. And what was really interesting on this is that I remember the day when we did the haircuts and the costume fittings, and I remember especially Lol, she had a haircut, she had long hair, and she was really upset. Put the gear on, put the Fred Perry and the jacket and the badges and the jeans and the docks, and she's even a kind of whole way that she held herself changed. And that happened with all the characters, every one of them, sort of as soon as they put that uniform on, you could see them almost change immediately and become more of a gang because they look the same. One of my favourite scenes is the tattooing scene, and as you know, Shane's got that tattoo, the same one. So from all those things, they are very autobiographical.
That it?
Yeah.
Sorry.
What Shane did was allow, I think after meeting the young lad Tomo, who played Sean, is that it didn't just become autobiographical about Shane, there was a lot of Tomo's character, which is what happens, if you look at the way Shane casts, is he has an idea, but then when he meets actors, they always bring something to it. We saw hundreds of kids, really. I think we did we went to various cities, and we kind of did a workshop in Manchester, and met some kids and then called them back. We did a few in Nottingham. And then they cast it, and it's quite a big cast to do. And I think that at one point, and then I'd heard a few times about a guy called Des Hamilton who specialises in looking where other casting directors don't necessarily look.
Don't really like acting.
Do you not?
Not much, but it's alright.
Right. But would you like to try out for this film?
Yeah.
Because we're not really looking for an actor.
Yeah.
We're just looking for a kid to sort of be himself.
Yeah.
Just be natural. Would you be interested in trying that?
Yeah.
Should I say to the director you should meet this kid?
Huh?
Yeah?
And we just met all these kids, and what was great is that this kid, Tomo, wanted Payne to come. And I think there's a little bit of just the fact that he wanted Payne just said something about that kind of character that everyone else was dying to be in the film and would just turn up. whereas he just wanted a little bit of money. And I thought, you know, and we heard about this, but he came in and he did a reading with Joe, which was so different. And Shane just looked across, and he sort of like, you know, and just knew that was probably the one. The journey that Sean took in the film was a little bit mirrored by the journey that Tomo took in real life, and he had to sort of be in an environment where you throw, you know, 80 crew and 40 cast together in an intensive period, you know, and you have to learn to trust and to work with these people. And I think that the relationships in the film that you look at, you know, Stephen Graham, who plays Combo, really took Tomo under his wing and helped and supported him, which I think added to their relationship. So when he came in, you know, there was a very strong father relationship, which is really important.
Let's go, come on, let's have some fun.
At one point, when Stephen had got the part, he was worried because Stephen is actually mixed race. And I think Stephen was really worried about telling Shane this because he thought, oh my God, I won't get the part, you know, I'll tell you. And actually what that added was another layer. You know, but then you get a sense of turmoil in Combo throughout this thing when, you know, he loses it with Pukey, they go to the NF meeting, where you get a sense of, a real sense of, you just don't know which way this guy's going to turn. You know, there is inner demons in him that are very strong. There's nothing obvious about that, the way that Stephen portrays that change in Combo. You feel that it's kind of coming up from inside, you know, and he doesn't do the obvious. He doesn't just shout and swear. A lot of it's just really, you know, for me, it's one of the most menacing performances I've ever seen. And ultimately, you can see in the way Stephen performs that he's drawing on something there that is beyond an actor. You know, I think there's some experiences that come out in that, you know, and it took a lot out of Shane. You know, that particular scene took a lot out of Shane, Tomo, Andrew plays Milky, and Stephen. You know, I mean, you know, on the day, the cast, the crew, everybody was emotionally drained. There was a lot of tears, you know, and it was a really hard thing to pull off. What Shane has is a very, very strong instinct, both in terms of casting and in terms of just when you meet people, of whether or not, you know, and they're always right, which is, you know, but he can sort of, he's got this sort of in a way of reading what somebody truly is like. And I think that comes out in just being able to read very small signals. And what he does in the performances is he allows them to do these small things that, you know, a lot of people, when you're in there, you might go, well, why is that happening? Why are we doing that? But actually then when you see it all cut together, you see that it's just adding a layer of detail to those characters. So it's really, and it's also allowing the actors to perform in a way, people sort of use the word improvisation, but it's always really well guided by Shane, and the buttons are pushed, and you know how, you know, what the other characters do will influence how that character reacts. And I think that's why the improvisation of Shane are often not about improvising that scene, but improvising scenes that are never in the film. So a lot of it is giving, you know, a real sense of history. So we might spend a lot of time in those rehearsals just giving the characters a real song sense of history and bonding and how they came to be together, so that they react more honestly when they, you know, on the day. I don't think Shane ever set out to make a political film, in fact, not at all, because whereas he just, you know, it's about, like I said before, it's about caring about those specific characters and the choices they make, and you're on that boy's journey. The fact that it was about, you know, this one was you know, obviously there was a lot of things about racism in there, but also I think really, rather than, you know, you could make a film that's sort of portrays that time in so many different ways, where ultimately, you know, kids are easily influenced, and I think that was important, that you can see how, you know, the wrong adult father figure or the wrong, you know, peers, if you like, can influence the way you think. And it just showed, you know, there was a little bit of just showing that honestly. In all of Shane's films, there's obviously you know, there's a lot of humour, and then it can just flip and turn like that. And I think it does two things. One is it always leaves your audience not really out of their comfort zone, which I think is really a good place. You know, what I love about the film is that there's so many relationships that change, and it's all told through this young boy's eyes, you know, who's looking for love, is lost, a little bit of a lost soul, and really sort of finds it in, you know, he's looking for it in Combo, and ultimately, at the end of, you know, it's about a choice that you make at the end of the film.
Spit. It's a man's handshake, that. I promise you. I won't let you down.
We went to Toronto. Great reception in Toronto. Then the next day the reviews came out, and they were amazing, the trade reviews. And there's another sigh of relief. So you get back, and then, you know, within 4 weeks, I think we went to Rome, and we'd gone out on print then. And you're thinking, right, well, it played well in Toronto, but Toronto's a great audience, great festival. How will it do in Italy? In competition, you know, different environment completely different audience. And we sat there with Tomo seeing it for the first time, and that was an emotional screening. I mean, Tomo got a standing ovation for probably 10 minutes. I've never seen anything like it. It won the audience award, Young People's Audience, which was great that the audience, because that's often different from a jury award, you know, and it won a special jury prize. So you kind of gone then from actually, yeah, oh right, okay, it's worked now in Italy, you know, and the jury was made up of 50 people in that festival. And you're thinking, well, and then it's sort of the ultimate test is still how it will pay to a British audience. And then we went to the London Film Festival, and it was great, and it went down really well. They did extra screenings, it was sold out. People loved it. The reviews in the trade, you know, in the sort of broadsheets, everything was really. So you're kind of thinking to yourself, this is only like a month after we finished it still. Gosh, you know, when's this going to stop?